Hi folks, with Tassos today at your Pushback channel, and thank you for joining this radio live stream. In this essay, I'd like to talk about professional ostracizing, the process of forcing or bludgeoning professionals into conformity and going along with whatever in this case, really, we're talking, the globalist program is. Now, the globalist program is not enshrined in law. It's clearly the wrong thing to do. It's not what the people want. It involves telling lies and whispering campaigns, undermining, corrupting. It involves a whole range of things that really are illegal and the wrong thing to do, but it's what the globalists want. So it's very difficult to force people to do things that are illegal. So you have to get them to do it because it's in their interest to do it, and there has to be penalties for not doing it. So if you want someone to so I don't know, spread rumors or tell absolute falsehoods on the media landscape, then how do you get them to do it? They know it's a lie. They know it's not true. They know it's illegal. It's going to go against the First Amendment in the US Constitution. So how do you get them to do it? Well, various means. You can bribe them and say, look, we'll give you a $10 million a year salary if you'll just tell lies on primetime news every night. Now, to someone who may, in the real world, only make 70 or 80,000 a year, and you wave $10 million in front of them, they go, holy fuck, I'll do whatever you want. I mean, if you want me to take a shit right now in the middle of the floor for $10 million, I'll do it. So sometimes you get that. Now, again, they're picking the people that are most persuasive, people can get on the news and be believable. Anyone that gets up on the news isn't believable or isn't persuasive or doesn't have a decent following, they're not used to the globalists, so they'll find someone who does. But you've got various lower level officials. There can be lawyers, there can be judges, teachers, research professors, various academics, social workers, psychologists. There's a whole range of people, lower level people doing things that in the aggregate and cumulatively that they would be important or could end up being important or influential. But they're all over the place. Now, say a judge's decision, for example, that could be important. Whether a lawyer fully and adequately represents their client, that could be an issue. A professor producing a research paper saying that climate change is no problem at all. You can't have that. We've got to get that guy to produce a different paper saying that climate change is going to kill us all in the next 5 minutes. There are a whole range of things all over the place, and the globalists have, but by the way, been rather successful at controlling nearly all of this. You've got to hand it to them. They've been thorough. But how do you get compliance? What about a politician that says, look, my constituents are really concerned about the mass immigration, and I'm going to make a speech in Parliament today or the House of Representatives today saying how bad it is and how we should change the policy. And the globalists don't want that. They don't want that sort of thing getting out there. They can shut down the media to make sure that most of the media don't report on that speech, but social media might, it's still going to get out, and the globalists don't want this. So how do they shut that politician up? So this is where ostracizing, there's bribery and ostracizing comes in, but where you're not big enough and important enough and useful enough to the globalists that they throw big bucks at you, like the news anchors on the TV channels and TV news and current affairs channels, that sort of thing. But where still you can cause them trouble, and they don't want that trouble, but they're not prepared to pay you a lot of money to not do it. They don't want to go too far along and kill you or something, take you back and shoot you, although I don't think that's far away in the years to come. But so how do they do it? And ostracizing is the method. So let's have a look at the ostracizing. And I know people sort of been affected by it, and just in a lower form, we've probably all sort of been affected by that at, say, high school or primary school or something like that. We've sort of either observed it or been at the butt of it or something like that. So it is quite childlike, really. The whispering campaigns and how sort of cut people out of things. So let's suppose you're a politician, for example, you're a politician that wants to make a speech denouncing mass migration, which is, again, like if mass migration was put to a vote by the people, it would it wouldn't have a chance of getting up. But the globalists decided that's how it must be, so they're simply going to bypass the democratic process to make sure that it goes ahead, which is exactly what they're doing. So the politician's going to make a speech denouncing mass migration. Now, politicians, let's say it's just an ordinary politician. They're on about 180,000 a year or something like that. Now, if you live in a major city in the West, 180,000 bucks a year isn't much. You're not going to get ahead on that sort of money. But what you do get is a lot of benefits. For example, you get a lot of so-called study tours, which are just junkets. You get to a lot of 5-star overseas travel to a lot of exotic locations that happen to have golden sandy beaches and all sorts of stuff like that. You're staying in nice hotels, eating nice food, and you top drawer wines and so on. So that's one thing that they can take away from you. So if you don't go along with say, well, hey, Billy Bob, we don't want you to make that speech there. So say the party heavies, come in, we don't want you to make that speech tomorrow about mass migration. Now, if you say, well, screw you, my constituents, the people that voted for me, the people that elected me, they do want me to talk about that. And I actually report to the people, not to the party goons. Now, the party goons are like, oh, yeah, you report to us, buddy. Don't you think for a fucking minute that you report to the people. The people don't do us, they're not even the shit on your shoes. We decide how the world is run with our globalist bosses, and fuck the people, which is very much the attitude in the West today, all over the West today. So anyway, you decide to go ahead and make the speech. Billy Bob's going to get up and do it. Now, so all the overseas trips that he would otherwise get or has been getting, suddenly they disappear. The budget won't allow it, Billy Bob. Now, they don't say directly to Billy Bob that you're not going to, it's nothing official and direct. There's no letter he's going to get. Because you made a speech our globalist bosses didn't like, we're going to take away all your overseas travel. They're not going to say that. It's going to be little excuses. Oh, by the time we did the roster for all the travel, Billy Bob, you just weren't on there. The budget wasn't there, Billy Bob. And look, we'll do it next time. And well, Billy Bob, we found an irregularity with your expense account. What irregularity? While we're investigating that, we can't let you do any travel. What irregularity? Well, I can't talk about it now. It's just being looked at by the committee, and we'll let you know in due course, and weeks, months go by. No, the committee's still looking at it, Billy Bob, so we'll let you know. Don't worry, we'll let you know when. So you can easily, effortlessly freeze Billy Bob out of all his overseas trips. Now, the overseas trips, in terms of the value they give to Billy Bob, he's going to maybe get 10 a year, and they're worth 20,000 a piece. So that's $200,000 of benefit, taxpayer-funded benefit that Billy Bob was getting that now he's not. Now, there are other things that they can do to Billy Bob, like, you can have a nice office or somewhere, but they can take that from you and give you the shittiest office. They can decide that you can't hire the staff that you want to hire. There's everyone you want to hire to work in your office, like clerical staff, admin staff, that sort of thing, political advisors, whatever. Every person you want to hire, there's always a little problem with it that they discuss. They can't discuss it with you because it's subject to the Secrets Act. Billy Bob, we can't. I know you want to hire Billie Jean here as a receptionist or something like that, but we can't. We've looked into Billie Jean's background, and there's something a few things we found are concerning, but because of the Secrets Act, we can't talk to you about it. But we can supply you with Billie Jane instead of Billie Jean. Someone we know. Now, Billie Jane that they're supplying is actually there to spy on Billy Bob and to fuck him up generally, to make sure there's reports are filed late, to insert all sorts of weird errors into it so it gets rejected and that sort of thing. So they can deliberately undermine everything Billy Bob does, and just screw him up generally. Now, on top of that, the when he's up for re-election, the party machine can decide that they just don't have the funds to help Billy Bob get re-elected, and a few agents from the parliamentary head office downtown sort of go around to Billy Bob's constituency, and they start spreading rumours about him, that he's he's a racist and a Nazi, a pedophile, he's this, he's that, anything. It doesn't matter. Make something up. I mean, just put it about there. And so he's starting to get questions from the people in the local, constituency branch. We've heard this, Billy Bob. Can you deny it? So he's constantly under pressure from that. So they can make Billy Bob's life a misery. Now they also have like various functions and committees and so on inside the Parliament now, or the House of Representatives. So now this is a way for politicians to make more money. They can, if they're on a committee, they can get $20,000 to $30,000 per committee, up to 50 depending on the committee. But if they're like the deputy chair or the chair of the committee, or maybe they're the secretary of the committee or something like that, they can get like another 30, 40, 50,000 bucks. So you're on a number of these committees, and you say you've got some sort of ranking position on the committee, and you're on 3 or 4 committees. You can be making an extra $200,000-300,000 a year on top of your parliamentary salary. Now you add that to your salary, and then you add the travel and the various luxurious benefits that can get thrown in. You can be on $600,000, $700,000, $800,000 a year in total packaged up income, and that's you can actually go places on that. You won't get rich, but you can do all right. So they take that away from Billy Bob. Suddenly he's on no committees, nothing. He's not getting an extra penny. So they can squeeze Billy Bob and make his life miserable and make sure he doesn't get re-elected. Now, all he has to do is just toe the line. He doesn't have to do much. Billy Bob, you don't have to do much. Just stop making those speeches about illegal immigration. That's all you have to do. Just do that, Billy Bob. And Billy Bob, quietly sort of, he's sitting at his desk there. All the party heavies that come in, he nods and, okay, then, all right then. And suddenly that very afternoon, oh, Billy Bob, we found a spot for you at that travel junket over to Hawaii tomorrow. Oh, well, you available to go? Oh, great. Oh, that committee there, it pays like $50,000 a year, and you've only got to, oh, look, we found this money for your re-election campaign. So Billy Bob can be ostracized from all the benefits that goes on but if he toes the line and goes along with it and doesn't offend the globalists or defend the boys downtown and the globalist masters, suddenly all these taxpayer funded benefits flow to him. Now it's the same in other professions, like say you're a lawyer representing your client in a case that the globalists have a general interest in. Now it could be social re-engineering, could be say the divorce. Now the globalists want a certain outcome, that's the structure of how they want to re-engineer society, but the straight white male's got a good case and his lawyer is arguing vigorously, so there'll be a quiet little word to the lawyer. Look, there's been an allegation that you've raped Susie Cream Cheese down the road there. Naturally, we have to investigate it if the department thinks it's warranted. And of course, you'd have to be disbarred from practicing law, while we investigate it. It's a complicated case. The investigation could take years, Billy Bob. And again, you won't be permitted to practice law. Well, how would you go, Billy Bob, not being able to put food on the table or earn an income or do anything? Would you dig holes in the road in the meantime? How would that go for you? I understand you're doing quite well, Billy Bob. You're making you a couple of hundred, 250,000 a year. All that would go. Now, again, it would take a long time to investigate, probably years. The committee may find against you, of course, and we think the witness is credible. We can't tell you her name, but all we can say is that we think the claim has merit. So, look, on this case, Billy Bob, that do you think you could encourage your client to drop his case and and give generously to the mother and this sort of thing. You know, there are people who would like it to go that way. You know, do you? So Billy Bob sells out his client. In court, he's a lawyer representing his client. You know, he has a legal obligation to represent his client. But he's being told that if he follows the law as it's currently written, then he's going to offend powerful interests, and they don't want that. So they're letting Billy Bob know that his career as a lawyer will be over. He'll be finished. They'll find a way of disbarring him and taking his lawyer's license, or his license to practice law rather, away. He's fucked. He's screwed at his age. There's nothing else he can do. So this idea that I fearlessly represent my client. Yeah, right, Billy Bob. Yeah, sure. So Billy Bob rolls over. He talks his client into and tells his client all sorts of lies. You know, oh, the judge isn't going to like. Oh no. Oh, if you do that, it's going to be. Oh, you know. Da, da, da. So the client, who believes his lawyer is representing him honestly and fearlessly, and is paying his lawyer to do so. Oh, well, if that's the advice you give a lawyer, well, it is. So that's it. So, you know, another case where someone's rolled over, or you know, could be an academic in university, and he comes up with research that climate change actually is a non-issue, and this is heard about, and so the university administration, which is completely controlled by the political globalist cabal, comes to this guy and you know, says in not so many words, hey, you're never going to get another grant again, and your tenure as a professor here, we found that there was an irregularity with the paperwork when we first gave you tenure, and of course we'll have to reverse that tenure, and you'll have to leave the university, and you know, when it becomes known that you had an inappropriate relationship with one of your female students, then you know, I doubt you'll ever work in academia again. But if you know, drop this silly nonsense, I mean, we all know climate change is going to kill everyone tomorrow, and if you change your report to reflect that, then you know, there are some quite considerable grants that are around that, and I feel confident you would get one, Professor Billy Bob, and I'm sure the female student that you had an inappropriate relationship with, I don't think she'll press charges or make any complaints. I'm quite confident that can go away, Billy Bob. Now you will change that your research to reflect that what we wanted to. I knew you would see it our way, Billy Bob. You know, it's and that problem, by the way, with the paperwork on your tenure here as a professor, I was mistaken. That didn't that was just a clerical error there. So there's no problem. Your tenure is assured, and so on. So this is how they do it, and this is, you know, the ostracizing and the methods of ostracizing and the types of ostracizing that they use. Now, you know, given the amount of people now that professionals that depend on either government work or government licensing, either one. It used to be that the government and the public service were completely independent players. They're not anymore. They're totally politicized, 100% politicized, top to bottom, as we can see with the FBI and Twitter at the moment in the United States. And that's the same for everything. Every association that gives someone a professional license, could be a building license to practice law or psychology or whatever. And again, a lot of these people are reliant on government business. For example, you know, there's psychologists that evaluate like in divorce law, they evaluate, you know, the ones that can reliably say that every father is a wife-beating pedophile and that sort of thing. Now, of course, you know, in the real world, that's simply not true. But the guy's paid $10,000. She has paid $10,000 for every evaluation. They're doing one or two of these evaluations a week. It's so corrupt. They're just using a standard boilerplate and reinserting names of it's Billy Bob number one, and then the next one is Billy Bob number two, and just goes on. So that's accurate. So they're not only not doing any work, but it's a legal document, and they're doing what's required of them, and they can be making $500,000 a year. This is someone who in private practice would be pushing shit uphill to make 100,000 a year, but now they've got an easy run at 500,000. But if they produce a report that someone in authority doesn't like, the globalist social engineers don't like, then Billy Bob the psychologist, he ain't got no more work coming in. He's finished. Either he loses that work, so standard of living drops from $500,000 a year to $100,000 a year standard of living. They can even pull his license. Remember, these people can invent frail little girls saying, he tried to rape me. They can invent these on demand. They can just produce it like that. Without having to go to any work. Now, most people will crumble at the threat. You'll get the odd one or two will go, yeah, okay, we'll see about it in court. But then they've got the power to put an activist judge in to hear the case. So you're fucked either way. Now, or the same even goes for judges. Now, you look at the US Supreme Court, where the globalists had mobs outside the judges' houses. And the government and the police and the FBI and these people seem to be utterly powerless to prevent these mobs from intimidating the Supreme Court judges. Oh, fuck, can't you believe it? But a bunch of people get outside an abortion clinic, and the authorities suddenly have all the power, massive powers, to come and arrest people. And move them on, and that's limitless power to deal with that. But do they have the power to stop mobs intimidating Supreme Court judges? No, well, we can't do it. They've got a right to protest. It's I mean, it's insane that the double standard of application of the law. But even in the case of judges, especially judges that are up for re-election, they can be easily got to at any time. Even judges who've got lifetime appointments, the mob's intimidating, but just judges that I've known and do know, they can be got to as well. There are certain prestigious things that judges like, the size of their offices, whether offices have a view of the park or the harbour or these sorts of things, whether they can employ their own staff. The sort of budget they have for staff, if it's maybe they get a low budget and they can only employ an IQ 80 black lesbian or something like that to do the legal secretarial work, or they can employ some top flight paralegal, that sort of thing. So judges can be got at in this ostracizing way, given a shitty office, given a low budget, not allowed to hire who they want to hire. And little petty spiteful things, like they put in an order for more stationery and more paper for the printer and more toner for the printer, or more paper clips, or whatever it might be. But their order gets held up and delayed. And I don't know where the order went. Could you put it in again? Look, at the budget's actually been cut back. We didn't quite have enough. They can do they can get at you in all sorts of ways, and do. So if a judge doesn't comply with the prevailing ideological sort of, this is what you have to do, then the judge can be frozen out easily. A judge that was in line to be the Chief Justice and had all the the cred, qualification, time served, all the stuff, the seniority and everything. But ideologically, sorry, Billy Bob, you're not what we want. You're fucked. You're out of here. And so they got again. So, and this is extra money and extra benefits and travel and all sorts of things. That was all lost. So it goes to show you how easy it is to intimidate various officials at all levels and in all capacities. But we need to understand that every once independent public service body that was, and this was one of the great things about the West, and one of the basis for the trust we had in our society and our institutions, was their independence. That's all gone now, all gone. It's all fucking politicized. And that's, so now they can get to and get at anybody they want. You've been with Tacitus today at your Pushback channel, and thank you for listening.